Hey guys, welcome to Chase After the Right Price. I'm Chase,
I'm Thane.
I'm Caleb.
And I'm Nick.
and today we're kind of doing a little reseller discussion, and we're going to talk about getting started in reselling and when to go full time or kind of what is holding some of us back. So let's do this thing.
Chase after the right price.
All right, guys. So I am excited. So my name is Thane. I'm going to be the moderator for today's conversation. We've got three awesome guests with us today. So let's do some quick introductions. Chase, kick us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, how long you've been doing the YouTube and resell thing, and we'll go around.
All right, so my business is Chase After the Right Price. I've been doing videos. This is going to be the fourth season, so coming up on 4 years in May, which is this month. So pretty much my 4-year anniversary. So it's been a journey. Thane's been a part of a lot of videos, and you guys, I don't know, some of you may know these guys with me, but they're excellent channels that have way less subscribers than they deserve. So we've got Caleb from Phoenix Resale and Nick from Hunting with Tripler. So let's hop to Caleb. Tell us about yourself, how long you've been doing videos.
Yeah, so my channel is Phoenix Resale, and I've only been on YouTube for maybe 3 months or so. I think I started in February, so whatever that math adds up to. Been reselling for about 1.5 years. I started not last fall, but the fall before, and have been full-time since September.
September, nice.
Well, my name is Nick, and if you've seen my channel, Hunting with Tripler, you know that I am sort of the jack of a lot of resale trades, but the ace of none. So I've been reselling for really my whole life. I think all of us in some respect have. You know, I used to sell magazines door to door. I sold chocolate candy from my band, but you know, as I got a little bit older, this became something more than just a passive hobby. You know, I started to realize there's real money to be made, and my channel started because I just thought where I'm located and some of the things that I'm seeing, it just made sense that I allowed people to see the journey I was on. So it just made sense that the reselling, where I'm at, and the finds that I was getting, I just thought, let's do reselling and a YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So that actually, we'll segue that right into our first question. So what motivated you guys to get into reselling in the first place? Like, how did you start? What were you looking for? Like, what was your specialty? Where did you sell? Was it just Facebook or garage sales? Like, so let's start with Caleb. Caleb, what kind of motivated you to get started in the first place?
Yeah, so my wife had just started law school, and so she was spending a lot of time, like during the nights and stuff, studying. And I had been sort of curious about the whole side hustle world for a while, but never really had one. Had sort of a pretty typical 9-to-5 job that didn't demand all that much of me. And so I thought this could be a really good season to sort of get into something else, you know, have something sort of creative to put my energy into, like after work, that also potentially could generate some income for us. So I started just like hopping around on YouTube, as you do, kind of, you know, browsing random videos, how-tos, and like suggestions. Yeah, the rabbit hole.
Yep.
And sort of, I suppose, got to the bottom of the rabbit hole with one channel called Reezy Resells, and learned how to flip books from thrift stores onto Amazon that way. And also came across Gary V's.
Love Gary Vee.
Yeah, his garage sale vlogs, which are like definitely the highest production value garage sale vlogs you'll find. I guess that's a short list, but yeah, so sort of got introduced to the world that way, and flipped a few things from Goodwill my first week and just kind of got hooked. So that's sort of my resale origin story. And then from there, it's been sort of a variety of things. I've dabbled in like online textbook arbitrage. I've done a whole bunch of yard selling. I try to do ads through Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and generate some leads that way. But yeah, still learning a ton every day. I wouldn't say that I'm a master of anything by any means. I would say what I've learned most about is video games. So I try to go pretty hard in that arena, but beyond that, I'm, still experimenting.
That's awesome.
Right
Well, let's go to the man of video games himself, Chase. How'd you get started in this? How old were you? What was motivating?
It certainly didn't start with video games in resale. I brought a prop. So right there, that's a Derek Jeter gold rookie card, 1993 tops.
Wow.
I actually went a little crazy and got 4 of them. I mean, partial investment because he's going in the Hall of Fame this year, so there's probably going to be a bit of a spike. But I'm probably going to keep them all because that card is actually very personal to me. Some of you may not know my dad passed away when I was 7 years old, but he was awesome, and he was a man of faith, so I know he's in heaven. But the story behind this card is that was something I did with my dad, was open packs. And usually, looking back, they were kind of the garbage packs, like the 88 Donruss and just stuff that's not good for those that know about sports cards.
Yeah.
But one day, and this was in the late 90s, so the prime time for cards, he breaks out the 93 tops, and I, as a little kid, pull this card out of the pack. And I didn't really understand the significance, but he freaks out, grabs a case and sleeve and just like, you got the best, just jumping up with joy. So that's when I was 6 or 7 years old. And looking back, I realized that's what kind of instilled the reselling, the thrill of the find bug in me. And I think you need that to be in reselling. But that just got me wanting to get the next card from a pack or whatever. So I started selling on eBay the following year when I was 8. So that was 18 years ago, and just kind of casual with sports cards. And then started going to garage sales with Granny when I was 9, 10, negotiating, hustling as a little kid, using my cute factor to my advantage and getting deals. And pretty quickly I realized I love video games, just played them all the time growing up with my brother. I realized there's a market there, so got into those. And sports cards have kind of died, and video games have kind of taken over. But sports cards are coming back, so be on the
Sports cards are coming back. What is happening?
They're kind of back. It's exciting. I know Gary V's on that, so Luka Doncic, Prism. There's a lot of good, interesting cards coming back, but that's what started it for me.
That's awesome. All right, how about you, Nick?
There was one moment in time where reselling, at least, was very much going to be a part of something that I saw in the future. And it started in high school, where all of us now sell TI-80 whatever, TI-85, 6 silvers, and it's just that's a thing. Well, I don't know if this particular model, but in our school, a lot of the kids just junked them. I mean, they were done with the class and they junk them. And I remember distinctly saying, hey, I'll buy yours for $5. And I was buying these, I think they were the TI-83 or TI-84s. And I was buying them left and right. They were the black model. And everyone was like, sure. I was just going to throw it away. I was like, I'll give you $5. And then literally a week later, you would have 25 or 30 people who would be looking for one for the same class. And I realized well before the class had started, I was like, you know what? I know people are going to need these. So I put new batteries in them. I cleaned them up and I sold them in high school right out of my locker. I sold them for
awesome.
$50. And it was huge money back in the day. I was thinking to myself, this is definitely something I wanted to do, but I was too consumed with other things like girls and choir, and I don't know. And most people don't say choir, but I say choir.
I would too.
Yeah. And then, cards, I liked cards. I always had a fascination in cards. In fact, most people, when they start in the card business, they don't start exactly like my brother and I. We were two little deviants living in a small town, Iowa. And we both went to the one card store that was in the entire city. And the funniest thing is I didn't know anything about cards, so I thought the older the card looked, even if it was a relatively new card, it must be old and retain value, right? So I'd crumple up the card and I'd bring it in. And I'd say, check out this sweet little old card. And he'd go, what are you doing? And then my brother, to antagonize this guy, because he was the only card show and he hated kids coming in because we weren't buying anything. We'd buy bubble gum and watch other people open packs. My brother would get like a $50 bill from grandma at his birthday or something. And he'd go in and buy a 5-cent piece of gum. This guy would be so pissed off at us. So we had this connection with cards that really started with just kind of unreasonable people. And we just loved the culture. And then we resold them. And that was kind of fun for us. So my brother and I, it was a connection there. In high school, I just saw it was, a way to make money. As I got to college, I started reselling just anything and everything. And again, if you look at my channel, I don't focus on one thing. It's just like whatever I can see that has value, I go for it. So that's kind of where it started.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that story. So, so someone is new into this. So like Chase has been doing this for a while. Caleb's kind of on the newer side of it, been growing, and Nick, you've been doing it for a little bit. So someone that's brand new at this, that's just getting started, that's going through that rabbit hole of YouTube, trying to find some content, some value. If you had one piece of advice for them getting started in reselling, what would it be? Let's, Nick looks excited. We'll go right back to Nick for this one.
I would say consider that you have to be good at like 6 or 7 different things. You can't just be good at sourcing, or you can't be good at just listing. You have to be good at all aspects of reselling, because otherwise you're just going to buy stuff and create this massive death pile that seemingly never will ever go away. And I can attest to that. So you really have one, and you also have to have the time, but I won't take up all of the categories. Unfortunately, you just have to be good at a lot of things, and you have to know what those things are and give yourself enough time to do it.
That's awesome. All right, Chase.
I would say the number one thing is to just get started, which I just put a video like kind of with that in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
People tend to overcomplicate it. So I get messages saying like, hey, do I have to have an LLC before I sell something on eBay? No, like you do not. I mean, even to pay taxes, you have to hit certain thresholds on those platforms. I can't remember what they are. I paid taxes for years now, but I haven't had an LLC just until recently, at least that I use. And I'm 4 years into full time. So my suggestion is start an eBay account, Amazon account, and just start selling, even if it's stuff out of your house, and just do it.
Yep.
All right, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the biggest 2 things for me would be, one, starting with what you have, like Chase said, just like it's really good to test the waters of like listing and shipping and like all of sort of the logistical detail stuff, just with really like low risk items. You don't have to like put any money up, even if they're not worth all that much, but to get a little experience under your belt with stuff that doesn't cost you anything, I think just helps a lot, and will give you an idea of whether it's something that you like really love to do, whether, it's because I think for a lot of people, all the details and the logistics of it just kind of like bog down the whole experience, and it pushes some people away. But if the thrill of the hunt, the thrill of the sale outweighs that for you, then it could be something that's good in the long term. And then after that, I would say, after you stick with what you have, stick with what you know and what you like. So like whether that is like fishing stuff or comic books or like sports equipment or like whatever you're interested in naturally, that's what I would explore as a niche initially, and just start searching like thrift stores or marketplace or garage sales or whatever specifically for that stuff, because it's what's going to be the easiest to have success in early on.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well said. All right, so I've got one more question. This one I'm excited about. So, because we've got, not everyone in here is in the same place with us. So Chase has been full-time for about 4 years. Caleb, you've been full-time for about a year now, has it been ish? And
5 months.
yep. Okay. Oh, okay. So
Yep.
you've lost that. Cool.
September.
And then Nick, you're part-time right now. And then
Part-time.
I am not even really part-time. I am a hobbyist at most right now. I may Thane wants to buy something that's not budgeted for, so he'll flip and sell things so he can buy it. So a couple questions. So going full-time, I've got 3 questions. I'm gonna ask each of you one. So Caleb, what is the motivating factor for you going full-time?
I think the biggest thing for me was flexibility. So I waited until I had been reselling for about a year and had a pretty consistent idea of what it could produce and how much I had to put into it to get the results I needed before I made that jump. But I honestly did have it in mind. Even just when I was starting out, I was like, if I know there are people who do this full time, if it really could be feasible for me, I think I'd really like it because of just the freedom and the flexibility that it provides. I came kind of from a background of multiple different entry-level jobs that had like the pretty standard like 2 weeks vacation and certain like sick days and a very set hourly schedule. And that I think was perhaps just a little bit more frustrating for me than it would be for I think a lot of people, just because of the way I'm wired. I think from the beginning kind of craved the flexibility and freedom that being your own boss allows. But at the same time, I've never been all that intrigued by the idea of starting a more traditional business, because the thought of having the large fixed overhead and having like a bunch of employees that are dependent on you and things like that just kind of scare me, to be honest. Yeah. So resale seemed like something that could be a really happy medium for me. And so far it has not disappointed.
That's awesome. So Chase, so being the one that's been full-time the longest here, what was like, how did you know when it was the right time? Because like you said, you've been doing this for over a decade, but you've only been full-time for 4 years. So how did you know that it was the right time?
Something I always tell people is you shouldn't go full-time until, your side hustle, your part-time is big enough to know that you could easily support your bills if you go full-time. So for me, I got married when I was in college, and that was my main job was reselling. But I got a degree in food marketing and had a few opportunities for jobs in that field. And I looked at kind of what they would pay and looked at my part-time hustle and said, pretty sure I could make a good bit more if I make this full-time. But the other thing is I had to talk to Alyssa, my wife, and just be like, hey, what do you think about this? I want to make the jump. Like, are you cool with it? And we kind of talked about it, prayed about it, and decided like we would do a 3-year trial run. And this was kind of like pre-kids, a little bit less responsibility, very low bills and all that kind of stuff. And that was the idea behind 3 years. And after the first year, I think we were both pretty much all in. So awesome. Just build that side hustle, go to college or work your regular job and just continue to grow it until it makes sense to make the jump. Don't just do it blind. Yeah.
It's and all of us are married guys here, so we all know what it means to kind of carry responsibility in the household. And so like for me, like I've entertained like, oh, should I dip into this more? And for me, like I love my job that I have, so I love this as a hobby. Because the thing is, Chase holds the pressure of this is his job, where for me, I can hobby it and get all the enjoyment with none of the pressure. And a lot of the benefits, because I get some real cheap video games through Chase and stuff like that, which works out great. So for me, that was one of the things. So next question for Nick, who's kind of more in the same, in a similar pool that I am, a little bit more invested than me, but not quite as invested as Chase is at this point. So what's the thing that's holding you back from going full-time? Like, what are the things that you're considering and processing when you're deciding to stay part-time right now?
Yeah, that's there's a couple things that really stand out for me. So if I was set aside my 9 to 5, which I've got a really flexible, good 9 to 5 job. I work with a lot of great people. I'm in an industry that I like a lot. So When you're in a job that you don't like and the side hustle is something that you enjoy, because I think all of us can easily say, I love doing reselling. I think many of us do, right? If you're watching any of our channels, you like reselling to some degree, or you like watching people find really cool items. But when you also have a 9-to-5 that you actually enjoy, that adds, for me, a challenge that overcoming these other things is, it kind of sits there and it festers, right? So it's like, man, but I like my girlfriend. I think she's really great, you know. But that's not the case here. You know, I have debt that is very minimal. We've been working to get all of our debt completely eliminated. That's something that would be really critical for us. I've almost paid off all of my student loans, which is like one of those, like, very challenging. We've paid down our house payment, especially when you live in Southern California. Those are not cheap at all. So all of our debt reduction plays a really big role in that destination. And then, kind of similar to what Chase was saying, I need to have 2 or 3 years of success. And I think it makes more sense that it's 3 or 4 years, because right now we're in an unprecedented time, right? And I'm not going to bring in what we're going through now as to be the future of all reselling, because I'm hoping this is just kind of a bump in the road. But if the times that we will see in the future kind of can sustain me for 3 years, and I see values that can be equivalent to the job that I currently have, then I would say I'm ready to make the jump. But it's really hard part-time being able to sell at a full-time pace. So I'm not able to see yet what I could potentially make, right? I'm seeing what I can make as a part-time sales guy, right? But what could I make if I was full-time every day? And you kind of have to project, right? You have to forecast a little bit what you think you can. But all of these things kind of tie in, and they all add up, and they're all really tough things to consider. So for me, mine's a little more complicated. But that doesn't mean I don't think about it every single day, because I do. I love YouTube. I love reselling, and that combination makes it so much fun for me that it's hard not to think that in the near future that's going to be what I'll be doing full time.
Yeah, and it's so easy to watch YouTube and think in a simplistic mindset where like, oh, it's just you go and buy stuff and you sell stuff. Right. There's so much more. Like one of the things that Chase is going through right now, just in a very real sense, is so he just had twin babies.
Oh. And congratulations.
Yeah. And like health insurance is a thing. And when you're self-employed, like that's not an easy thing to acquire. So I mean, there's a lot of dynamics. So I love that you kind of brought up some of those dynamics and things that people should think about before you jump, because when we see YouTube, we only see this much of the real thing, to where it's like, oh, I can do that, here we go, and then you're 3 months in and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, and that perspective, I really appreciate that a lot as well, because I think sometimes, and I worry a little bit that in the resale community, we can sometimes put like full-time status on a pedestal and like act as if like if you haven't like reached that yet, then like you're not doing what you're supposed to, or like you're not there yet. But I think people's situations are just so different. And to me, the most beautiful thing, or one of the most beautiful things about resale, is that you can scale it up or down to meet exactly what your needs are.
Absolutely. Great call.
Yeah. And so I love that you bring that up, because just having people hear an example of somebody doing that well, I think is crucial. And I'd like to hear more of it, honestly.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, we're gonna keep this conversation going. So kind of this video is all about how do you get started? When is it the right time to go full time, if it's the right time? And some awesome conversations. So obviously we've got Chase with Chase After the Right Price, Caleb with Phoenix Resale, and Nick with Hunting with Tripler. And we're going to keep this conversation going. So 5 minutes, we're going to be hopping over to Caleb's channel, Phoenix Resale, and continue this conversation, talking about organization, processes, shipping, kind of the logistics of this thing. So Chase, any final words?
Link in the description. We're going to Caleb's channel next for the next video. Link's going to be in the description. Then after that, we're going to Nick's channel, Hunting with Tripler, and yeah, so we're going to have 3 of these types of videos. So make sure to check out their channels. And if you haven't seen the value that these guys can bring through this one, you're crazy, but you should, and you should check out their channel. So please go ahead and help them out and watch their videos too.
All right, we'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
Chase after the right price.